Powered by Riverside.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Lawrence McKay here with your Ambition and Alchemy podcast. Just coming to you today with a special guest of mine. I call him my Bahamian cousin. We have a little history behind that, but this is my guy from my subto community. We've developed a good relationship over the couple of years that we've known each other. Definitely an OG in the game, and he has an interesting method that he's using, or technique that he's using, to actually kind of relieve himself of the need to file the BOI that most of us have been troubled with, going back and forth. And he wanted to actually come on today and share what he's doing. So, he can he can provide a little insight for us, and, maybe a strategy that will work for us. But today I bring to you Chris Thompson, unicorn agent, OG investor, good friend of mine, subto community member, subto OG, actually at this point, subto leader in the DMV area.
Yeah.
And I wanted to welcome you. So Chris, welcome aboard. Appreciate you coming on.
Dude, how am I supposed to compete with that intro? Seriously, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Extremely humbled. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to diving into this, how to avoid the BOI.
Yeah. All right. So for those who don't know you, I gave you an intro, but tell us a little bit about your history in real estate.
All right. So brief history on me. I have been a licensed agent for 18 years here in Maryland. I own a property management company. I own a renovation company. I'm also an investor and a creative finance strategist. In the investor side, predominantly buy and hold. I do flips, I do wholesale, and like 14 other different arms of that. The creative finance strategist, when I joined subto, just opened my mind to so many different creative options that when cash doesn't work. Most wholesale, 65, 70% of the value. If cash deals just don't work, if somebody's upside down, the only option is a creative option. So I love helping people, especially wholesalers, find ways to get more deals done. If you're a wholesaler and you're closing 2 or 3 deals a month and you want to close 5 or 6 and you're throwing 30 in the trash, I'd be willing to bet there's at least 2 in there that would work creatively.
I can agree with that, and it definitely helps having, just another tool on your belt, because most of us are really taught just kind of like to be a one-trick pony. So you having all these different skill sets, I'm pretty sure it makes you more like the Swiss Army knife of real estate investors.
Well, and it even helped me out a lot with my retail clients, my regular buyers and sellers. It adds more tools to the belt. The first subto property I ever bought was on a regular listing appointment. I went in with 3 options, and because of having all the subto stuff, and I was 6 months in, nervous as heck, trying to figure this stuff out. And I was like, well, there's a 4th option. And I presented the subto offer, and that's the one they took.
Nice.
So it doesn't just help on the investing side, but being creative and being able to come up with just more solutions for sellers. Ultimately, that's the name of the game, whether I'm their agent or I'm there trying to buy their house.
So for all you real estate agents out there, pay attention. I know me being a licensed agent in Virginia as well. Like I know how we're taught, but I'm telling you, there's a whole nother world on the other side of that coin, man. Yeah, exactly.
I've never been one to stay inside the box. I'm always looking to, not necessarily blur the lines, but looking outside the lines, staying legal, but finding different ways to do things, and ultimately being able to offer people more than your regular agent that is, strictly by the book.
You're very nice. Listen, I'm pretty sure your clients definitely appreciate you once they understand that they don't have to stay within that tiny box. Once you open up this world to them, all these different choices that they have outside of what traditionally is taught, I know it makes a world of difference.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your investing, I know you've gotten creative over time. You're getting
Mhm.
better and better, and I know you personally because I know you study, right? You're always in the vault, always
Yeah.
in the vault.
Mhm.
So, tell us a little bit more about this strategy that you've discovered and this technique that you've come up with for the BOI. Like,
So with all of this, the BOI honestly was not even a concern when I started going down called a rabbit hole.
mm,
But I was looking for a better asset protection from just your basic LLC with your Wyoming or your Delaware LLC that you can hide your LLCs in, so on and so forth. Because as an investor, you're a target. So how do we try to not necessarily remove that target from our back because I think that's impossible, but how do we hide that target so it's a whole lot harder to find? And traditionally, that's what a lot of people did was here's my basic LLC that I own my properties. Then I have my Wyoming holding company that holds those LLCs, and then my trust. Um, there's a laundry list of different trusts that you can do with that. Even a land trust into the holding into blah, blah, blah. But I was looking just for something different, better asset protection, how to, ultimately pay less taxes because I want to keep more of the money that I make versus giving it out,
yeah,
back to the
yeah,
government.
yeah,
And ultimately that's the name of the game. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
yeah,
So, and, starting where most people do on social media. And I stumbled upon this company, talked to them in and out, followed them, did my research on them. And I think they were a great company. Another guy popped up. Just obviously, that's how the algorithms work. And it was on YouTube, and I saw Jamil Danji doing a podcast with this guy. I
interesting.
had the opportunity to meet Jamil a couple years ago, um, and awesome guy. And asked him about this guy Don, he was on the podcast. I was like, "Hey, is this legit?" Because I'm having a really hard time finding any information on this stuff. He was like, stock answer, but if it fits your business model, it's good. Ultimately, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a scam. And knowing how smart that guy Jamil is, I know he did his due diligence and I know he did his research. He wouldn't just be throwing somebody on his podcast to have fill content. Everybody wants to be on his podcast. I
Yeah.
sure as heck do.
He has a
Um,
lot to lose, so
So somebody of that stature in the investing space, somebody I respect highly, who's, best friends with our mentor Pace,
yeah,
like, all right, he's saying it's not a scam. All right, check. Step one, go do some more homework. So I compared both companies back and forth, asked as many questions as I could, would go do more research, come back with more questions, and
mm,
ultimately went with, the company that this guy, Don, who Jamil did the podcast with. And I ended up doing two different types of trusts. One is a beneficial trust where I hold my passive income and my personal assets.
okay,
And then my business trust, which I operate my retail real estate buyers and sellers, property management, and my renovations because I'm physically out doing that stuff. The beneficial trust is more of just my intellectual property, going back to all that studying that I've done. Um, so that's where that's housed essentially. And then my business trust leases my intellectual property to operate.
okay,
So, what is the name of this trust? It is a common law, irrevocable, non grantor, complex, discretionary spendthrift trust.
good
It's
God, that's
a
a
mouthful.
mouthful.
I have to replay it in my head every time I say it. So, you know, common law versus legislative law. Common law predates government. Legislative law, government created.
Yeah,
Pretty simple to follow. So, common law, this trust was used by rich landowners way, way back in the day with, kings ruled everything. Well, the kings were just stealing their land. You could steal land from a person, but you can't steal land from a piece of paper, even several hundred years ago.
mm,
So that certainly piqued my interest. I was like, okay, well, and in we'll call it my unhumble opinion, if the government creates it, they are setting it themselves up to win.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's protection, but house wins essentially. So this predates all of that. That was one of the big things that I liked about it. The irrevocable has a lot of great qualities and some negatives. We'll go into that in a second. The non-grantor is, I think, the part that just teed everything off for me, was that I used somebody else's social security number to establish my trust. So the only place that I'm on there is the trustee and the compliance officer. My wife is a co-trustee, and my children, I have 5 kids, are the beneficiaries.
Okay.
Taking that the next step, it's very similar to the LLC structure that we just reviewed with the Wyoming and then your whatever state your property's in. Except I don't own it. I'm just a trustee. So if you've ever heard the saying, own nothing but control everything. That is essentially what I'm doing now.
I was going to say, this sounds like rich man's logic to me.
So as I was going through getting everything set up, and I got mine signed into life at the end of 23. Research was 21 and 22. So I did a ton of research on this stuff. Because there again, it's really hard to find. So I had a bit of skepticism in there, and they're not cheap. They're $20 or $25,000 a piece. So it was like, this better be real, or otherwise I just scam the heck out of myself. So I wanted to do as much research as possible, talk to as many people as I could before I could truly make that informed decision. Thankfully, I think I was able to accomplish that. So all of last year, 2024, I worked very vigilantly of removing all of my properties from the LLCs and moving them into the trust, all of my personal assets into the trust. And then the BOI thing came up. One thing a lot of people don't know about the BOI, and BOI, for anybody who's watching, beneficial owner interest. I think that's, beneficial owner interest. Essentially, you have to put your personal information as to who owns that LLC. So the whole structure of trying to hide it really doesn't work anymore. So it's, not that everyone's going to be able to get it, but it makes it a whole lot easier to, attorneys use the line all the time, pierce the corporate veil. I think it just makes it a whole lot simpler to do that. So I guess by happy accident, it was, oh, okay, well, I don't have to deal with that because I'm getting rid of all my LLCs. And as of, I think December 30th, I finally dissolved my final LLC of 2024.
Oh, man, right in the
Now it's, the courts are going back and forth, whether you have to comply or whether you don't have to comply. The same court, I think 3 days later, said yes, and then turned around and said no. And now it's just back up for debate. So instead of having to do that, whether it works for you, whether it doesn't work for you, I think it's a great option to explore. No different than looking for a buy and hold property, a flip. You're going to do your own due diligence. You're going to do your homework on it. You're going to make sure that fits essentially your buy box.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure this trust was going to fit my buy box.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot more benefits to it than just, just a tool to keep yourself anonymous.
Right.
There's a lot more to it than that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I'm, completely anonymous. I don't own anything. My trust owns everything, but I control it all. And it's so far so good. I'm behind on my taxes. I had a horrible accountant previously, had a decent one in between, and now I have a really good one that's extremely knowledgeable with the trust. So I'm delayed on my taxes. I just filed my 23s, getting ready to start my 24s. So the true tax benefits of it, I don't know for, exactly, but from what I'm looking at, it's going to be a huge tax savings.
Nice. Well, early congratulations to you if that is the case.
Yeah. So fingers crossed it works. Let me be your guinea pig. There's another guy in our circles in the DMV super smart, successful investor. I think he has his own software company as well. He has the same type of trust. He and I got into a discussion on social that, he's saying what his attorneys are saying, and I'm not arguing with the man. That's what fits him. No different than your CPA might tell you something different than they'll tell me, even if we have the exact same thing. It's what works best for you and your situation.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the people set in place, build your team to where it's going to benefit you and work for you and your interest the most.
So do you think that the different perspective that he has and the information that he received is different because he has a business versus real estate, or are the benefits?
To be honest, we didn't go that deep. We didn't go that deep with it, but he owns his own company, software, and super smart guy. I've met him a handful of times, talked to him dozens of times. Great guy, smart guy, but what works for him may not work for me, and vice versa. So if I'm saying it's going to be ABC, well, ABC works for me, but if it's DEF that works for him, then he's going to do DEF. No different than any other corporate structure or investment or day-to-day life. So
if someone wanted to do a little bit more research to see if this is actually something that they should get involved in, or they should, kind of implement for themselves, what do you feel like is a good starting place for them to go and start doing this research? What professionals should they talk to? Something that they should just Google it, or do you have a source, that you
I
feel
have a contact person who set all of my stuff up. So
okay.
I would say just reach out to me and I will essentially coordinate for whomever to talk with them. But the best way to contact me, to get a hold of me, is my website, christhompsonteam.com. You can send me a message through there. You can book a call with me through there. And I have other options on there for coaching creatively. But website is the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Very nice. And I know before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, where do you feel, with 2025 being what it is, where do you feel like the market is going? We have a new president coming in. We have interest rates that are doing something funky. The housing markets are doing something funky. Different strategies are shifting as we go. As we implement them, we hit a curveball, or it's not the same. Where do you feel like you, as a professional, looking at the DC market, the DMV market, where do you feel like it's going?
I wish I had a good answer for that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't know. Things change daily. I mean, rates dropped last week and they just went up yesterday. Who the heck knows where they're going to sit? I think until the transition happens, it's still going to be kind of back and forth in limbo. Once the new administration gets in, I think it's going to kind of roller coaster a bit, but ultimately I'm hopeful that it's just kind of stable out. We're going to see more inventory, making the market a lot more competitive. Rates get a little more competitive, but ultimately with rates, they're still normal right now. Are they 2020 and 2021 rates? Absolutely not. But anybody essentially 45 years or younger has probably never seen an over 5% rate until the last handful of years. So that's one of the big things that I think is holding people back. A lot of it also is people that bought in 20 and 21, even if they were to move into the exact same house across the street today, their payment would double or possibly even triple for the same thing because that interest rate, and that controls a ton of it.
Indeed.
So, ultimately we've had, I think in our DMV area, we've had low inventory for 10 years. A normal market is 6 months worth of inventory. There's, formulas and all that stuff to figure that stuff out. But right now, I think we're only sitting at like a month or two. And we've been at that for quite a while.
Well, there you have it, folks, from the mouth of a true professional. If you are definitely in the DMV area, if you're looking to get into real estate investing, go holler at Chris. He is the real deal. I promise you that. Definitely the real deal. If you're looking in the Carolinas, come holler at me.
For
But
sure.
either way, no matter where you are in this country, we have a network that we can get you tapped in and plugged in no matter where you are. We're like, what, 15,000 now? 15,000
I
strong
think it's even over
nationwide.
15,000 now. Yeah.
Yeah, a few different countries. Not
Hmm.
bragging, just stating the facts. That's just really what it is. But if you really want to get involved in real estate investing, go holler at Chris. Come holler at me. We'll get you right. All right. So, Chris, man, I want to thank you for stopping in and sharing, being a go-giver that I know you are. Um, and I know you're taking a vacation, going back to the Bahamas soon. Like I said, man, I'm about to pack myself in a bag. Just
Going to
throw me
hang
in
out with
the
your
luggage.
cousin again, bro.
Yeah, throw me in the luggage rack, man. I'm coming.
Love it.
All right, bro. I appreciate you, man. And
All right,
as
thank you so
always,
much
man,
again, man. I
if you
really
need
appreciate
anything,
it. And DMV, group homes, affordable housing, that's kind of my niche. So if you got questions on that, would love to connect with you.
all right, folks. Well, holla at you. See you later.
Powered by Riverside.